together we are working on the initiative at the Copenhagen Business School called the Center of Art and Leadership. Do you think we could help firms during the crisis now, which in my opinion is could be a long one because it's basically a technological crisis?
Yeah, I think anytime there's a crisis, there is always opportunity within the difficulty. And it is one of the things I'm reading in the newspapers a lot these days, that in a lot of fields we see an acceleration of trends that were already underway. We see things kind of unfreezing that were frozen, and we see new ideas, new concepts, new shapes coming to the fore. So, yeah, I think there probably is opportunity for a Center for Art and Leadership in the current crisis, in their ability to sort of talk to business about new kinds of value, not just commercial value, but commercial value, of course, is important too in a business world. This is one of the things one of the points I like to make a lot. Commercial value is a reality. It's not the only kind of value. We shouldn't judge anything by commercial value alone, but we also should not necessarily resist that some of the things that we do in art settings are commercially valuable. To sort of push that away is to diminish our credibility, I think, in the eyes of some fairly narrow-minded but often resource-controlling people.
One could fear that managers would react with increased and tougher lean strategies now. Although as lean sometimes were driven true here in this country, Denmark, it actually was what should we call an admonition to you to control yourself in a more rational way.
I think there's no doubt that there's a reflex like that. One of the things I do, in addition to the art and leadership research, is I chair an executive program for chief information officers. And a year ago, they were all very interested in innovation. Innovation was the big buzzword. This year I'm not hearing nearly as much about innovation. I think it will come back. And I agree with your point that control, it doesn't necessarily mean restraint. In fact, this is a whole chapter in the book Artful Making, that there is another kind of control that is that we call control through release. That also is, in many ways, it's a superior form of control. It's kind of an open loop control where people are letting go, but in a way that allows things to happen that are productive for them. So I think that kind of control has a chance to emerge as being wise policy in the financial crisis.
I think it's the Microsoft way, in a way. But I used to call it intimate technologies or technologies of intimacy. And that means there's also a lot of encroachment into the other person. And there's a lot of absorption or usurpation of your passion in it. And this has a little bit of a totalitarian ring to it. What do you think?
I think there is that potential in some of the technologies. That it is always a difficult thing, and one of the things that's quite frightening about those possibilities is it's the nature of them that we often don't realize the danger until it's upon us. The reason I think it's still wise to move forward with these things is because we also, at the same time, we're experimenting with the ability to sort of magnify people's capabilities. I studied and interviewed once Douglas Engelbart, who in the 1950s developed the computer mouse and the graphical user interface and so on. And he was at Stanford Research Institute, and one of the things that he called his project human augmentation, which has a little bit of a frightening sound to it. But his whole idea was that these technologies would enhance human capabilities, and that the world had very difficult problems, and therefore enhanced abilities to deal with those problems would be a good thing. So there's that promise as well as the concern. And I think that may be just the nature of technological advance, that we get the good and the bad possibilities with it.
I think so. The last question, Dr. Austin, do you think art would have an increased chance now, even if the crisis is here, as the art as a remedy or as an instrument to making organizations more effective on all the three bottom lines?
I think it can. I think if the crisis continues, there may be a lot of sound and fury and bad temper and misstep on the way to reaching conclusions like that. Before the crisis hit, I think we were well on the way to going to that place in a less traumatic way. That in that world, people were interested in experiences and understanding their world and identifying themselves within their worlds in creative ways. And we have, I think, in the midst of crisis, as everybody worries about their bank accounts and their retirement funds and their house values and so forth, I think we have seen some pulling back from some of the creative outlets that people were very much a part, participating in and engaging in there. But I think just as readily what the financial crisis says is that the old ways will not take us forward. So ultimately, if we stutter and stagger enough, maybe we will ultimately come to a better place. And I think that place is likely to include art and whatever it can bring to leadership and management and the rest.